Okay, so hello everybody. This is Dr. Ann, and I welcome all of you on today's Lovonya call. Today we're going to talk about something that's really dear to my heart, and that topic is the power of community. Now, community has been a big thing to me in my adult life, and I think it was probably a bigger thing for me growing up than I realized. But I want to share with you a lot of concepts about community, including some of the science of it, some scientific studies that have been done, and just a lot of information. And at the end, I'd like all of you to participate a little bit and share what your concept and your experience with community over the years of your life has been. So, power of community. So, it's my belief and that of many people that humans are meant to be together. We're not meant to be islands. We're not meant to be totally alone. And when I was a little girl, I was shy. I was kind of an introvert, if you can believe that now. Um, and I loved nature and I loved my pets, and I was kind of scared of people. I never felt like I fit in with the groups that I was in with the people of my age. And so my biggest wish and the thing I kind of dreamed of when I was a little girl was to be on an island where it was just animals and nature and me and no humans. And I think I was an ET anyway, so it was kind of hard for me to be on planet Earth with all these Earthlings wandering around. But that was my old wish, and I look back now in my tender age of being almost 72, and I look at myself, and I'm living in a cabin where I've lived alone for almost 20 years. I have a significant other of almost 20 years, but he and I don't live together. And I've got my pets and I love my neighbors and everything, but I like living on my little island with my pets and my beautiful yard around me. So, I got my wish, but it came to me in a real different way. And I still participate in community in a lot of different way, but I am able to be in community and participate the way I want to instead of having it being forced on me all the time. So that's just my experience since I was a little girl. So community can mean a lot of different things to people. It could be your family. Some people with big families, you got a built-in community right there. It could be your neighborhood. Like right now, I'm kind of the person that when somebody moves into my neighborhood, I'm the one that throws the party to welcome the new neighbors. And so everybody knows about coming to Ann's house for a neighborhood party. And in fact, I had a party last week and I invited my neighbors, and my neighbors next door who don't live here full time said, well, listen, you always have the parties. Why don't you do it at my house? So I invited everybody. I sent out the invites, but I didn't have to clean my house or anything. They had the party, so it worked out great. So for some people, your community might be your religious congregation. It could be your region is your community. It could be a social group. It could be your nation, moving the borders out. It could be your culture, your race, your religion, fraternity, different things. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So when I was growing up, I told you my dream of living on an island with my pets, but my community that I resonated with was made up of some dear family friends that had gotten together, and they were sitting on a hot summer's day when I was about 1 year old, and I was in one of those little plastic swimming pools that you fill up with the hose. And I was sitting there, and everybody was sitting around this little pool, and I was in the middle of the pool paddling around in the water, and they were going, "Oh my gosh, it's so hot. It's so hot. We should do something about this." So my grandparents said, "Well, you can use our backyard and build a pool." And then my father said, "Well, I run a construction company, so I could get the people in here to dig the hole, and I could get the concrete companies." And another one of the friends that was there was a plumber. He said, "Well, I could create the filters and do the piping and the filtration system for the keeping the water clean." And then my uncle, who worked for Reynolds Aluminum at the time, says, "Well, I could, provide
Oh,
aluminum
wow.
for all the stairs and the hold on rails on the sides of the thing." So the whole and the fence around the pool. So just the people sitting there had all the resources it took to end up having a pool. So we called that the Happy Oaks Swim Club. And it was just mainly family and dear friends. And all of us kids grew up together, and we'd have every weekend in the summer, we'd be at my grandparents' house at the pool. And we all learned to swim like fish. And it was just, that was my concept of community. I never related to the school I went to. I never related to the religious community that I was forced to be part of. And I just really didn't have any other outlet that I really felt close to. Now, what does community really mean? What are the characteristics of community? Well, community is like-minded others who accept you as you and empowered you to use your own best talents, things that you enjoy, and that support and your talents support the good of all in the community. So growing up, that didn't mean as much, but when I got a little bit older, I went to Girl Scout camp every summer. And we lived out in tents, and we got to canoe in the creek, and we got to swim, and we got to be with like-minded people that also love nature and love being outside. And the Girl Scouts was really good about creating unit and creating teams and sharing with us leadership abilities. So we all participated. We made things together. We did whittling. We did music together. We did all kinds of fun stuff together. And that became a community for me. And one of you, Marcia or Richard, one of you, I'm hearing feedback from yours. So if you could mute yourself, that would be good for right now. Anyway, so for me, the Girl Scouts were a community, and during the school system, the school times, we'd meet, I don't know, every week or every other week or sometime, to do whatever Girl Scouts do. And so that was my community. So then I went off to college. Well, again, I was living in a dorm. I didn't really relate to that too much, but I was a leader on my floor, so that made me responsible for keeping everybody straight. But then I was in a sorority, and I didn't relate to that either. But I was a musician. I was a music major at the beginning, and I ended up joining the big glee club at Indiana University, which I was in the School of Music, which was the biggest music school in the world at the time. And they had a group called the Singing Hoosiers. And it was 150 people in a 4-part chorus. And I got to play in the little pit orchestra that accompanied these people on all kinds of different music styles. We did everything from pops to jazz to Broadway to classic to opera. And I was the first lady of the pit. And my best friends were all these other musicians that I hung out with. And we'd go out bar hopping after the big concerts. and I'd have my long black evening gown on, and the guys would have their black tuxes on, because that's what we had to wear when the other people had their fancy outfits on and they were dancing the choreography and everything. But it was pure fun, and it was coming together to do what we loved doing, which was making music. And the choral group was excellent, and they danced and they sang, and the different kinds of music just were so wonderful. So to me, that was the epitome, and the you know, the one big thing in my college life. And I continued working at Indiana University as a grad student, and I still hung out with the Singing Hoosiers. And when they'd go traveling out of town, I would sit with the conductor's kids, and he and his wife would travel, and I'd be their house sitter and I'd take care of their two girls. So, this was definitely like my extended family. And I don't know, we'll talk in a little bit about if you resonate with any of that. Okay, so another stage of my life, right before college, I was a really good musician. And in high school, there was a youth orchestra that was excellent in Louisville, Kentucky. And we got to play occasionally with the Louisville Symphony, and, did some really fun things. And that was my community. And at my high school, my best friends were all in the youth orchestra. So again, it was all musicians. We came together to do what we enjoyed doing and what we wanted to do. And I played flute. And so my best friends were just all in this group, and that was our community. Okay, so then I went as a young adult, in my late 20s, early 30s. I moved to California with my ex-husband, and I connected with a spiritual community. And we would have all kinds of meetings and networking and connection. And I was introduced to things that I never connected with in Louisville, Kentucky, or Bloomington, Indiana. It was like everything was out of the box, and we were channeling extraterrestrials and doing all kinds of exotic things. But it was a whole new life. And the holistic health and that environment, because my ex was in chiropractic school at the time, that was a whole different community. And it was wonderful. It just opened me up to really becoming who I really resonated with, much more than the me that was growing up in conservative Midwest. So that really was exciting. And while I lived in California, I connected with a group called Global Family, which at the time was an NGO, non-governmental organization of the United Nations. And it was a spiritual group. One of the founders was Barbara Marx Hubbard, who was a futurist. The whole concept of global family was that we are family, no matter what our national borders are, where we come from, but we need to know how to work as family, how to resonate with each other. And I was working with a couple, even after I moved to North Carolina from California, I was still on a program development team creating training programs based on this concept that Barbara Marx Hubbard had kind of started to espouse, but it was called the resonating core concept. And it was all about learning to be in resonance in relationships rather than in dissonance, and how to know when you're in resonance, know when you're in dissonance, and how to work and build community. And that's what we were doing. We were building community. And so long after I left California, I was still connected with these people and would go back for what some people would call retreats. We called them advances, because we were going to come out and we were going to, be ourselves and do exotic, fun things with each other, on kind of a, spiritual, new age, metaphysical, live out in nature, blah, blah, blah. And eventually I was on my way to New Mexico to move into a 500-acre community with some of those same people when I met Martin, and he convinced me to come to Georgia instead of go to New Mexico. So, but I still stayed very, very close. These are like my soul family people. And so that was a whole different concept of community, but it also taught me how to build the building blocks of being part of a conscious community. Now, conscious community was a big deal back in the 60s. I remember back when I was in primary school and high school, my best girlfriend had older brothers and sisters who were in college, and they were already talking about, let's create a commune. Let's all move in together. But it's so hard to build a conscious community and have everybody get along. You have to have some kind of framework for decision making, for rule making, for agreements, for how are you going to live, for property owning, all those kinds of things. So the resonating core concept of community building that I learned with Global Family was something that really could be utilized. And the community was built, and it's still located in New Mexico on, I think it's 600 acres now. And I never made it out there with a home, but some of my best friends live out there, so I go out and visit them sometimes. So that's very interesting. Okay, so again, the characteristics are, for community, is having like-minded others who accept you as yourself and empower you to use your best talents, whether that's community building or leadership or music or talking about health or sharing metaphysical ideas or, bean counting or, whatever it is. The best talents that you have, that you enjoy, to support the good of all in the community. So that is, what I think community really is all about. Okay, so some of the powers of community have to do, and community with other humans. One example is the power of prayer. You don't have to be with somebody to be praying for them, to be sending them really good energy. And it actually gets there. And I was doing some research before I got on the call today, and there is I was just contacted by the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, which I'm a member of, and there are several studies, one by Professor Chris Rowe, Dr. Elizabeth Roxburgh, and Charmaine Somax at the University of Northampton. And these are meta-analyses of research studies on non-contact healing. So this has to do with, sending intentions for healing. It could be Reiki kinds of distance healing. It could be prayer for healing. And they used 57 humans in their study and 49 non-human subjects, which could be plants or animals. And their findings all showed that there was a significant change and improvement in the subjects that were receiving the actual projection of energy at a distance, as opposed to those that didn't receive any or had the placebo. Okay, and this was in a journal called Explore. So that just came out recently. So there's a lot of science behind the power of prayer and intention. And if how many of you are familiar with a group called IONS, the Institute for Noetic Sciences? This is a scientific group that studies metaphysical phenomenon. Jordan knows about that, but they use scientific methods to study different things that are more metaphysical, more energetic, and they are there's a lot of studies there that you can check out. So besides prayer and Reiki, there's just like holding an intention, which we've done here in these sessions before, from the mastermind. When you have a group of people come together physically, whether it's on Zoom or in person, you can hold an intention for the whole group and go through the month holding that intention for the individuals. And that is another experience of using the power of community for healing and benefits. There's also just the creating of the field of resonance as opposed to dissonance that is very powerful, and that's all about community. So how many of you have ever stood in a circle holding hands with people and felt the energy coursing around the circle? Okay, well, that is where you're physically connected and you can really feel that energy. But you can do that in a mastermind like we're doing right now in Zoom. And that's where these platforms that you can do online are so beneficial. If you can't be with the people in person, you can still create that energetic. Okay, all right. There have been studies also about how we are really all connected. We are, we are one. I'm sure you've heard that before. We are one. And I've heard, and I don't have the research to quote it, but the gamma ray, when you're in the state of gamma ray or the gamma state of consciousness, that's when you're really connected and you can communicate. And there have been studies where maybe there's an animal, a mother rabbit, for example, and the baby is taken into another room or taken away, and something is done to the baby's scared or is pinched or something, and the mother reacts. And that's done with humans too, but it can also be done in a test tube with cells. You can take cells out of a person, live cells, and you can take them away from the person and do something to that cell in the petri dish, or do something in the body where the body reacts to maybe something that is emotionally upsetting, and the cells in the petri dish in the next room react. So this is, we are one, we are connected, we are, when one of us reacts, the whole planet of us react on some level. All right. So, there's a lot of power in the sense of community. It's been better for us to be together than to be separate, but even when we're separate, we're still connected. Okay, and the scary thing is when the World Economic Forum representative Harari speaks and he says, humans are, what does he say? Humans are hackable. Well, if you tap into that vibration that connects us all, yeah. Now, I think, yeah, a hackable animal, exactly. But I think what he's kind of talking about is, put the nanobots inside of us and inject us with whatever, and then send things to us. But I think without that, we're still all connected energetically. So, whether it's our highest self, whether we're just living a hologram and, we're sitting back on a cloud somewhere looking down on this earth experience that's the hologram where we're all doing this, watching the video go by. Who knows? We don't know. But there are a lot of different options, and the energy is definitely there. And our higher selves, the part of us that we call a soul or our spirit, that's what really connects us with everybody else. And the part of us that connects with source or God or the universe or whatever we call that higher source. Okay, so communities like ours here in Livonia use Zoom. A lot of people have groups. I used to, when my mother was alive, every holiday we would do a Zoom call where she could see everybody, all my sisters and her grandkids and all that kind of stuff. And, that was a wonderful experience because we could connect as a community. Phone calls. I remember when I was going through the dark night of my soul years ago, and it was, really a crash and burn kind of experience for me. I was part of a long distance group on the phone of women that came together for, and spiritually we supported each other. And that's what kept me going. I didn't go to a counselor. I didn't, really have any friends because I just moved and I didn't know anybody. But this group on the phone was my connection to sanity and my ability to stay grounded and have hope that I was going to come out of this deep, dark pit on the other side. And so that use of just the phone at that time and conference calls was a way of connecting in the power of community. Now Zoom is easy. Now, what I do notice is it's not the same as when you meet in person. Now, I want to apologize to any of you that came to my last call because I was kind of in a funk. We were talking about how when everything is seeming, it's hard to tell who's telling the truth, what's the truth. There's so much gloom and doom out on the news and blah, blah, blah. How can you continue to shine your light when it's so hard to discern where the light is? And I was just really into that. And I probably didn't project a very positive person in that call. So I'm sorry if I was a downer. But right after that, I went to a gathering for the first time in 4 years of contra dancers. It was a big contra dance weekend with like 200 people coming to South Carolina all together. And we stayed with like 20 people at this one house and camped in the front yard. And some people were sitting out on the boat and sleeping on the boat, sleeping in the boathouse. But being around old friends physically was such a wonderful thing that I hadn't experienced in 4 years with that many old friends. And it just completely blew me up and filled me up with great energy. And so if you've got a community and you haven't been with them recently, look for an excuse to get with them. Yes, Jordan, I totally agree. This is what's so important. The technologies are great. So if that's all you have right now, then use them. But if you can get together with people that care about you, that know who you really are, around whom you can really let it all hang out and be yourself, then that is really, really important. Now, Mary and I had a phone call earlier today, and it was just on the phone, but we were laughing and teasing and telling old stories. And it's like sometimes that's all it takes And that's using technology. But when you're in the mood together, I told her, I said, well, come over to my place sometime for a retreat. I'm only a state away, and we'll sit and we'll have a drink, and we'll really get crazy, and just talk and share old stories. And that's what you can do with old friends and people that even new friends and people that are in your quote community that know who you are and that accept who you are. Okay, so that strength of actually connecting physically is so potent, and it really is important. And there will be a time probably in the future where it's going to be vital that we make more physical connections with each other and get together. Remember during COVID when everybody was locked down, and especially the old people, a lot of old people got really sick. And it wasn't COVID, it was just, they were going to be sick or they were going to be in an old person's home anyway, but they couldn't be with their loved ones. And a lot of them probably just gave up. They didn't have that connection and they were really cut off. And that was really, really, really difficult. And I just heard last week on a special news report that the UK government has said that the lockdowns were really dangerous, separating people and keeping them locked down in their homes. And one of the things they said is that it was really bad for everybody's health, but in addition to the emotional and the psychological and just the community aspect of it, they said that in these clusters of just families where you couldn't go out and get herd immunity, whooping cough was coming back now in the UK because so many vaccinated people that had gotten the vaccine for whooping cough had been all together and carrying the vaccine. And so then coming out into the open, now they're getting sick, not because they're out in the open, but because they had so much close contact with other carriers of the whooping cough virus or whatever it is that was in the vaccine. So for them to be even saying that there's something wrong with that the people who were vaccinated were the carriers is a stretch for what we've been hearing for the last 3 or 4 years. But lockdowns are not, they're very dangerous for a lot of different reasons, and that was just one of them. So I just came across something that was really, really interesting, which is how many of you are familiar with what's called a Rife machine that measures frequencies of the body? And it can be used for health purposes. Yep. Okay. It's a device that a lot of holistic health practitioners are using now, and they can. Did I raise my hand? I guess I raised my hand. Sorry about that. But but what that does is it measures a lot of different things that are part of the vibration of life, basically. And it's very, very interesting because there's a German physicist, Burkhard Heim, which proposed dividing the information field into 12 dimensions. So that would be more than body, mind, and spirit. So let me see if I can share a screen with you. And see if I can, oops. Yeah, there we go. And let me see if I can go back to where this is. It's really a good thing. There it is. Can you see that now? I think you can. Where if you look at the whole picture of humans, you can look at whatever concerns our physical body. That could be the matter, the linear time. Points 5 or the 5th and 6th dimensions would be your mental and psychological, your thoughts, your emotions, your subtle energy field. The 7th and 8th dimensions would be the collective energy field, higher consciousness, and unconditional love. Now, that collective energy field is very interesting. Look at what nightly news has done worldwide to the collective energy field. Look at what it did during the COVID lockdowns, the fear porn that it pushed out there, the negativity, the you're not safe, the rules, the regulations, all the different stuff that went into our collective energy field that affects every one of us because we're part of that collective energy field. That's also part of community. And when it's misused and abused, that can be really bad for all of us. So these, rife machines or the these bioresonant field devices can not only find out where you have picked this up on a lot of different levels, but it can help to shift that vibration back to one of harmony. So then the body can heal anything that's out of balance because of that. Another example of that collective energy field and the power of that is every time there has been a major invention on the planet, there is in the collective energy field this idea. And people that have the inventive spirit may all come at it in a different way. But it might have been sparked by just one little spark of, wouldn't it be neat if we created electricity or if we created this or that? And so the idea was out in the collective energy field, but then different inventors all invented in their own ways. So there have been so many cases in history where many people have come up with ideas around the same concept all at the same time. And that's kind of where the collective energy field is all about. You don't have to have internet to connect with this collective energy field. And finally, the 9th through 12th dimensions on this level would be spirit and connection to source. It's like your soul, your highest self. So I wanted to share that with you because I think that kind of is an epitome of, who we really are. And as we connect with other humans or anything living on our planet, we are connecting on all those different levels. And that's what's really important. Now, as we connect, it's also important for us to remember that, everything is a frequency, but here we have the frequency of emotional states. And this came out in the book Power versus Force years ago. And they have, this same listing. And look at the frequency of all the emotions. Now, during COVID and, during lockdown and everything, I know a lot of people were way down around apathy, or they were down around 100 at fear. If somebody went out without a mask and happened to be reprimanded, even if they believed that masks were stupid and didn't work, they might have been connected with guilt and shame after being argued with by somebody at a store or a restaurant or something like that. So we've all felt all these emotions, and this vibrational frequency level shows how important it is for us to recognize when we get into these lower frequency emotions. Desire, that's where you're desiring, you're pining for, you're wishing you had, but you don't have yet. Okay, I used to always say, it's important for you to not be in these lower frequencies, even if you have to make yourself angry, because anger has fire in it. And it's a little bit of a higher frequency than just saying, oh, okay, I know they're controlling me. I know I can't do anything about it. I know I have to do whatever they tell me. So if you get angry about it, then you've upped your energy. Okay, pride, if it's real pride, not just ego, that's good. Courage takes energy, and if you really are feeling courageous, you've got some more power there. Now, neutrality and apathy are really different. By being neutral, that doesn't mean you don't have an opinion. Apathy is, I give up, it's over. I would say that small intestine meridian energy, and you can tap on your small intestine meridian, which is on the side of your hand. If you do EFT, it's called the karate chop area. But that's apathy. That's where, okay, I give up, I'm confused, I need help, I don't know what to do now. Where neutrality is, okay, I see point A, I see point B, I'm just going to not take a stand, but realize that I understand both points there. Willingness is being open to make changes, being open to take action. Acceptance is, okay, I go along with it. It's not, I'm going to let them do it to me. It has nothing to do with victimhood. It is, okay, all right, I'm gung-ho, let's go. And you can see that's a higher resonance than, I'll go with you, I don't agree, but you're telling me I have to. So, having reason in something, look at how high love is. And remember the last time you were really in love, how everything was high. You just felt good, even though the writing might have been on the wall that this was not going to work, or, that you were acting stupid or crazy. When you were in love, you were walking on a cloud. It just felt great. And joy is right up there when you're with people in your community, when you're really authentically yourself and you can say what you want, you can say it the way you want to say it, you can giggle, you can laugh, you can make fun of people, you can do whatever you want with the people that really understand where you're coming from. That's joy. That's joy. And when you've got total peace of mind, look at how high that is. And, I don't think I could ever reach enlightenment this life, but you never know. We can all try. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen that before. And so we're going to stop the sharing here. But that is good. All right. So I am just about finished talking about the power of community. We've covered a lot of different aspects of this. And I did want to share that with you. I did want to share that with you. what was yakking in the background. Um, and it's time for you all to share some of your own experiences around community and what you'd like to bring to the table, because all of us have had experiences of community. Some have not been really good. When I lived in a sorority, I hated it. That was, put on me by my mother, who said, you got to live in a sorority if you're still in college. And I graduated a year early to get out of the sorority because I didn't fit in. But we all know what community can feel like when it's good. So who would like to share something about community? And go ahead and unmute yourself. Okay, Mary?
I'm gonna come on real quick with you because I have some workers that just showed up at my front door
Okay.
that are here to do work inside the house that they didn't finish yesterday. So
Okay.
I don't want to be on and have you hear all of the buzz saws, so to speak. But
you're
as
welcome.
you and I were talking,
you're welcome to stay unmuted if you need to. Okay, go on.
But what I had realized for the last 8 or so months after my husband passed away, not being in any kind of a community, just being here by myself, and choosing to be that way. I was am grieving, but I realized over the last, I don't know, slowly over the last few weeks, maybe longer, that I really miss the community of seeing people in person, and that it's time for me to get out there and start doing things, even if it's, no more than just a local group that I can get together with or something for a little while.
Yeah.
And I found a couple of things that I may be able to do. So just reiterating how much I agree with you in terms of the importance of community, and understanding, really feeling it more than I ever have, that we're going to need this, as I agree with you, in the future, even more as we go forward. We're going to have to come together in ways that we maybe only read about or thought about or dreamed about that could be possible, because there's things that are going on that we don't have control over. And we'll find that community will be what really saves us, in terms of, at least that's the way I look at it. So I'll be hopping in my car and driving up to North Carolina. We'll be having a little conversation on your front porch.
Yeah, I'm close to North Carolina, but I'm actually in Georgia. But
you are in Georgia, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, nice.
I just wanted to touch in and say thank you. I'll be listening, and I'll be on mute. That's all.
All right. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, honey.
All right. Bye. Okay. So who has something else to share? Remember to unmute yourself. Come on. Not don't all speak at once.
Well, I'll speak. So I lost my wife 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years ago, actually, May 31st, 5 years ago. And living alone. So I had 1 year without her before I had all my illnesses. So for the last 4 years, I've been on oxygen 24/7. So that kind of changed everything too. So I had 1 year living by myself. After she passed, 6 months later, our dog died.
Oh.
So, yeah, both my girls were cremated, and they're in my dining room. I have not been back to Indiana to intern them, because I figured, I'm probably not going to be around that long myself. So my son can intern all of us, drop us all off. And I've already paid for everything. I've already got the bronze thing made and everything. So I said, and I've already paid to to get cremated. So I said, just drop me off, with your mother. And yeah, so I didn't expect to be here, honestly. So I've had to kind of it's called adapt or perish and be flexible. And so I think for me, adapting and going with the flow has become such an important thing. You know, I just have to know every day that, and the security is a big deal. It's a big deal for me because I don't really have it. I mean, I have it. I have as much as a person possibly can. I have enough money, so that's not a deal for me. But it's like my body, I can't really convince my body because my body's been through 5 cancers. I've had a heart attack. I've been through so much. I just feel like my body, I have so much respect for my body. It's like I'm amazed that I still function. Okay. And I've had chemo, I've had so much radiation. It's like they can no longer operate on me because my lungs are so bad and they can't give me any more chemo. It's like, you know, yeah, it was kind of interesting. But I've been able to pull together an incredible community. I mean, it's like I call them my warriors, right? That they have been very supportive of me. I became a Catholic when my wife died.
Uh-huh.
For me, she was an angel, and I was married to her 10 days short of 38 years. Okay. So when she passed away, she always said that her fate was the reason she was the person she was. I said, I believe that. So and I sat next to her in Mass for 32 years. And she was who she said she was. She was that person. She never talked about anybody behind their back. She never talked about women as being cat. My mother, I said, you can't trust women. Women don't trust women because they're catty. My wife, that's not her attitude at all. She was easy talking to men or women. I mean, she was just, yeah, no big deal. And she was just calm. She was beautiful. She was more beautiful inside than outside. And there was so much to learn from her, right? And I did. I learned so much from her. That's the reason I'm secure financially. I mean, because I learned so much from her. It's like she taught me everything that I needed to know. So when she passed away, I said, you know what? I think it's time that I become a Catholic myself. And yeah, so I did that. And so that already gave me some community. I had sponsors. And to this day, they come every Sunday morning. And I ended up, because of my community, I have my own cook who cooks for me. And of course, I pay him to do that, but I'm missing teeth, so I can't eat just anything. I was on a feeding tube for 6 months. And I didn't realize how much muscle mass I would lose in my jaws and my ability to swallow. So when they said, we got to take the tube out, I go, yeah, take it out. And then I had to eat with my mouth. I go, oh, I don't think I can do this. It took so much energy chewing. I said, oh my God, chewing, I can't do it. And I'm missing teeth and it's hard to swallow. And I still struggle to swallow. I had esophageal cancer and my esophagus and everything's really rough in there. I had a lot of radiation in my throat area. So it's like, I mean, it's like, it's life is so interesting. It's like, I never expected to be here. And now every day I'm so grateful that I'm here. I mean, I can't even believe that I am here. But people rallied around me. And so, like I said, so one friend, when he found out, I needed somebody to cook for me, he set me up and a friend came over with his wife and he scrapes the bottoms of the boat, but he's a chef. And he and his wife, they're young, they're in their late 30s. They were traveling the world cooking, and COVID shut them down. So they came home and he went back to scraping boats. But when he found out somebody wanted to cook, he came and he delivers food to me. And I pay him for his labor and I pay him for the cost of the food. And he prepares it exactly the way I want. I eat the same meal every day for 7 days, but it's got all the vegetables and all the different meats and everything in it. So it's like one meal, it's all cut up and prepared. So it's easy to eat. I mean, I just like it's community. I, I don't know how else you could do this, but so I have that. I have these wonderful people. But here's the other thing. I can't wait for the robots. Honestly, God, I know this is it seems out of character. I want that robot because there's things, if I had a robot that could move things around and do things that I can't do. I have a woman that comes in 2 days a week, but she's got a bad back. She can't do this stuff either. I said, no, man, I want a robot. I just want a robot that can do all the cleaning and all that kind of stuff. And I can have a conversation with. She I can't talk to. She's from Nigeria and she has such a heavy accent. I mean, I can't understand her. And she talks too fast. She's been with me for 3 years. I still can't understand her. So I thought by now, I mean, she's a wonderful person. She's a sweetheart. She'll rub my feet, rub my back. She'll sit there and she'll talk to me, but I don't understand half of what she says. Her accent is so bad. And, and she wants to watch these Nigerian movies while we're sitting. I go, okay. She calls me my old boy. She goes, how's my old boy? She comes in, runs her rubber cheek and asks me. It's hilarious, but she's a good woman. Anyway, so robots. Can you believe I'm asking for robots? Yeah, so I want robots because I think we've reached a point in our country now. We don't have facilities to take care of us as we're getting older. I mean, I'm watching my friends around me, and they're getting. I'm worse because I'm on oxygen and I can't really do anything. But I can watch them. They're deteriorating too, and they're looking around and they're going, "What are we going to do?" And baby boomers, here we are. There aren't enough facilities to take care of us. That's for sure. Yeah, it's coming. But so's the robots. That's what I'm saying. They're saying the initial cost will be less than the cost of a car, like $25,000. Hey, I would put in $25,000 for a robot. Are you kidding me? It could cook for me. It could do stuff for me. Oh yeah. Then 24/7. I got assistance. That's what I want. What do you think?
I
What do you
think
think,
that's a
Ann?
great idea as long as I get to call the shots and they're not trying to think for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, a tool yeah, no, that
A
makes
tool.
sense.
No, I mean, so I do believe in the vision. I believe in Elon Musk's vision of robots because that's exactly what he wants. He says he wants robots to serve mankind. He goes, and he's the one who's most concerned about robots going amok. Okay.
Mhm.
So yeah. So just like I just heard a speech and he was talking about why you want them to tell the truth. You don't want to be politically correct because like he was saying, the problem with AI today, if you ask AI, what is worse, causing a little girl who's transsexual to commit suicide or blowing up people with an atomic bomb? AI would say, making that little girl commit suicide. Well, you think you want the decision to be made to blow up people? That's not worse than hurting that little girl. No, I don't. I think he's right. We want the truth. What is the truth? The truth is a lot worse to take out thousands of people than to harm one little girl. Okay, but to be politically correct, we're going to go, no, life is priceless. So, the point is, we want truth. So we want our robots, he says, we want robots to be always seeking the truth and to be curious. Yeah, curious. Looking for the truth and curious. Yeah, that's what I want too. Always looking for the truth and curious.
All right, good. Well, community is what it's all about.
Beauty is what it's all about.
I don't know how many robots I want in my community, but but I totally get what you're saying.
Well, I think what he says the future is we'll be trying to figure out what we're going to do for work because the robots will be doing all the work and we'll just have leisure time. Think about that. Ponder how that will affect mankind.
All right.
When-
Well, I don't want to get too lazy. All
yeah, well
right.
then we have
Thank
nothing
you.
but community, right? Then
Thank
we have nothing. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all that. The part about your wife was very beautiful, Richard. So thank you for sharing that.
The best part of my life.
Yeah. Well, good. All right. So, Marcia or Jordan, do you have something you'd like to share about community and your experience?
I'll go.
All right.
My my church that I go to, I consider that a really big part of my community. When my husband died, they got me through it. They were there for me. Every Sunday I would go in because I expected my husband to be there with me. And it was amazing how many people came to my aid through all of that because I would cry. I think I probably cried half the year. And that got me through. And when you talk about us being one, my religion believes that we're all one and that we're all connected to the web. So, yeah, I mean, and we do affirmative prayer, meaning that we give thanks that for whatever we want, it's already there for us and we give thanks for it. So that's that. I have different groups of friends that I consider community. They're not all, yeah, they're just different types of friends that believe in a certain way. And I feel like I have that community. Now, in my neighborhood, I'm not a neighborhood person. I do know a little bit more than I used to, but my next door neighbor, he's very close to me. I mean, we're not close, but if I need something, I usually beg him or whatever. But yeah, so I never thought about this as being a community, but yeah, I guess I do have community. And it's always been interesting to me too, throughout my life, especially since you and I are close to the same age. I noticed in the 60s that we would get together in groups, that well, most of it was listening to somebody that was channeling. We didn't know that they were really mediums, at the time. We just said whatever, but that was interesting. And the way things progressed as I got older, this interesting groups that I was in. Because I'm not a group person by any means. I like one-on-one relationships. I don't like a bunch of people that I have to try to fight who's going to talk to who. But yeah, so that's my experience with communities.
Well, good. Well, thank you for sharing that. All right. So Jordan, would you like to share? You can unmute. There you go.
I don't really have experience with community besides realizing who isn't community and throwing them out. And when they won't leave, so have some of the same spiritual sensitivities as the others, then finding like a group who's experienced in kicking them out.
Okay. So other than those that don't fit in, it sounds like you do know what community feels like with the people that belong.
No, I know what community isn't, is
Oh,
not.
okay.
So remove the wrong people.
Okay. So have you ever attempted to find, I mean, have you tried finding community in your life and it's just been real difficult?
Yeah, I've attempted to find it and I haven't found, I have never found it.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I know that it isn't always easy, and it has to be around who you are and what you enjoy doing and sharing, and what you want others to share with you. And so I would hope that maybe today's session will get you to think of some things or help to support you to try again to find those that with whom you could really feel comfortable and you could be yourself and let them be themselves. So yeah, it sounds like you've had a lot of life experience, and you sound like a wise person from some of the remarks you've made just as we were going along. So You know, I still say that, yes, community is going to be important to us as we go forward, and even, you know, more important than maybe it's been before. And I think we'll all be able to hopefully resonate with those like-minded people and attract those people. And we'll come to you if the wrong people come into our communities, and you can help us get rid of them. So I'm sure there will be those that don't belong with the rest of us, and we'll have to find ways to create that resonating core and let go of people that create discord or dissonance. And it sounds like you've done that before.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's hard to do that. It's hard to claim, hey, you know, I have dissonance with you, and we've got to either talk about it or separate. Because a lot of people won't face that at all. They want to smooth it over, or, you know, stick it under the rug. And so just the idea of saying, this isn't working for us, is something that I think if we're all gonna end up being in community, we have to be conscious of and able to do in order to stay healthy and comfortable in our lives. So do you have any comments to us, Jordan, about how to do that?
It's difficult because the key is to see things as they are and not how you want them to be.
Right, right. That's true. That's true. So remember when I showed the graph of being in love, and you know, love can be blind sometimes, even though it's a very high vibration. But it's important to be real careful, to be real clear about what we really see and feel as reality, as opposed to what we want, like you just said. And it doesn't have to do with just mentally figuring it out either, because I think our mind only is really conscious of like 2 to 5% of what's going on. It has to be the heart energy, and we have to be able to use our intuition to identify really what is working, what is resonating, and what is not resonating. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever done any of the work that was done by or initiated by Barbara Marx Hubbard? Have you heard of her?
No, I haven't. I'm a natural intuitive.
Okay.
So to get with the, I'd say the intuitive feedback keep receiving, to override that and say, no, it's this, that's some very powerful, I'd say, brainwashing and conditioning.
Okay. What I might suggest, if you're interested, is there's a really big legacy that people like Barbara Marx Hubbard, and I'm just using her because she was something that I felt, a person who I felt was kind of a mentor to me, but not as an intuitive. I wouldn't have wanted to live with her or near her, or you know, but we were in a community that would get together occasionally. But what she was really good at was defining things and clearly creating models. And then some of the rest of us that were more intuitive and had better people skills got together and kind of put down rules to the game and how to actually live what she was coming up with, because she had some great ideas, but it was difficult for her to live by them too. So I don't know if that's something that Yeah, when you're very empathic, it's really hard because you do pick up everybody else's stuff. And that makes it difficult to live with them. And that's why I like living on my mountain by myself. I can get away from people when I need to. So, um, but um, but what can you say you are taking away from our discussion today about community, Jordan?
That this is that you went in detail of what a social community is
Uh-huh.
versus I just finished listening to a webinar with a US Surgeon General where there were two of them, he and his friend were presenting about a social community compared to a transactional community, where the transactional community, if you don't like something, then you just leave and find another community.
Uh-huh.
And here we're talking about a social community, and that's what I've been seeking and have never found.
Mm-hmm. Now, was the Surgeon General talking about the WHO treaty and, the one medicine for the whole world?
No, this was specifically about community building and the importance of it and the different types of communities, and how it was relatively easy to make infrastructure for the transactional communities or casual relationships, but not too easy to do the same for the social communities. And then they talked a little bit about these mega churches. That would be the extent, because who these mega churches, they're all part of the system called the swarm. So one thing about the mega churches, my friend is part of one of them, and I think they excel in creating that what people feel like is a very nourishing social community. So they're taking money in the back, basically laundering money to have that facility. But based on what my friends talked about on how they support each other and the resources they have to do it, I understand why he takes part of it. When I went to the service, there's something that the presenter said and I didn't like it, that, oh, I had to learn to obey it. Then I knew, even though they seem really nice, this is not my community. Because I think for myself.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, part of this resonance versus dissonance is coming up with not one person calls the shots and everybody else has to comply, but coming up with a way that everybody can walk away from the table feeling comfortable that they won, even if they didn't win 100%. So anyway, interesting. I bet that talk that you went to was interesting, and I hope, Jordan, that you can, that maybe something that we talked about today can support you to resonate more, and maybe you're looking for a group of other empathic people that you can all understand each other a little bit better, whether you agree or not. So I don't know if that would benefit you or not. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Anybody have anything else to share before we end today's session?
I
Nope.
just wondered, I just wondered if you ever heard of Bruce Lipton.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm starting to take a class of his, and he believes that, we're about to go through a big transformation. And it's really, he's talking about getting into the field and actually changing your own epigenetics. So yeah, along those same lines. And I do have the Q coils, and those are fantastic. I have this the CS ones. I was actually thinking of getting the largest, and I also have a PMF bed that I can play all the frequencies through. Yeah, so my tablet has, it has, I don't know, 10,000 frequencies,
Uh-huh.
and some are rife, and some are quantum frequencies, which means they're blended frequencies. It's more than just one. Okay. Yeah, there's, oh my gosh, so many right now. Um, are you familiar with an organization called Spooky 2?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm using what they call their gun on a spot on my body. They told me I had basal cell carcinoma. So I said they're
You-
gonna do
You're,
plan. They plan to do surgery on it in a month from now. I said, if I still have it, we'll see.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, normally, like I read this thing. I would highly recommend you read Dermatology's Disastrous War on the Sun by MidwesternDoctor.com as Substack. Yeah, basal cell carcinoma, n- the majority of the time it's not dangerous, but it can be disfiguring if you don't, and by getting big by the time you get rid of it. But no, it's not life-threatening.
I didn't say it was. All I'm saying is that's when they scheduled to see me. Okay. They already took a shaving, and that's when they scheduled me. So I said, well, I'll do what I can in the meantime. And perhaps by the time it's time for my surgery, I won't need surgery.
Yeah, you'll remove that vibration, or you'll neutralize it so that the
Oh,
body can then come in and heal itself.
that's fine. And it gives me a month to play with my body and experiment. I don't mind doing that. I mean, look, I am an experiment. We all are experiments when it comes right down to it.
Yeah.
And that it for me, to me, I'm a miracle that I'm alive anyway. So that my body would be willing to go through this, I'm pretty sure there's a chance I may get better. Look, I ventured into using red lights, and oh my God, did I benefit from that? And everybody goes, "What is that? A red light? What does that do?" I go, "Well,
Oh,
we're gonna,
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but
they're
I think that you'll be successful, that the basal cell carcinoma, it'll be either significantly smaller or gone.
we'll
Yay.
find out. We'll find out, right?"
That's from an
I think
empath too. So Richard, you're on the right track.
Thank you so much. Look, I do believe in this stuff. Yes, it works. We're
Right.
frequencies. It's all about frequencies, okay?
It is. It is.
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
That's it.
Well,
Look,
thank you for sharing that.
gold. I'm so my ray gun. Spooky too. It looks like a ray gun, right?
It does. It does.
And well, so this creates a plasma inside it, and you put it in contact with your skin,
And it sends a
and
frequency.
it'll glow. It'll glow like blue, and it creates an ozone layer, and it only affects the outer cells. They will adhere to it, but those are dead cells anyway. And it creates reactive oxygen species that affect only apparently the problem cells. Okay, so we'll see.
All right.
Why not?
Well, thank you for your input, Jordan, and thank you for sharing, Richard. And thank you, Marcia and Mary, for being here and sharing your wonderful energies. And I look forward to seeing you all next month. And if any of you have any topics that you'd like to share or have me share, please feel free to let me know.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Jordan. Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
Good point.
All
Good time.
right. So you all have a great month, and keep showing up, because that's what Livonya is all about, is bringing in different people together so you all can share. And I'm so glad that all of you did share, because every one of you brought some beautiful wisdom and a beautiful gem to share with this talk today. So thank you all. So have a great one, and thank you for showing up.
Life can be beautiful. Yeah,
Okay.
enjoy.
Bye.
Bye.